It's a Badge Bros Fantasy Sanctuary crossover. We have got the one and only Nez with us, back off his European sojourn. We're going to pick his brains on all things Week 16, Week 17. We're going to dive into the current Underdog contest. We're going to pick his brain on his Pittsburgh Steelers. And of course, we are going to get into a draft. Big show tonight. Let's get into it. Yes, that is right. We've got Nez here, back from Porto, back from Portugal. Nez, you've been experiencing the European culture. How's your best ball mindset right now? More in tune with culture and the right takes than ever before?
Yeah, I'm just like I'm more cultured than I've really ever been. And I think I'm ready to, I feel like I've experienced enough, diversified my mind enough that I am absolutely ready to begin drafting BBMs. I have been waiting a little bit for the schedule to drop, but not Portugal was great, Europe was great, and so much respect for you now, having been in those time zones to for when a Monday night game happens to wake up and just like see what happened all at once, all at one time. It kind of jolts you out of sleep when that happens. I was doing that for the NBA playoffs while I was over here, but great to be here. I'm super honored to speak with you, Tom, and Tyler. Long time no speak. What's up, brother?
I know, man. It's good to see you. I think the last time we hung out was in Vegas, so I had to put on the shades for this blinding star that we have on our show today to grace
for God's
us.
Sake, please spare me.
Dude, Portugal's awesome, man. I'm glad your European third eye is open just in time to start picking at some of these ADPs and some of these players, because we need a non-American lens to cut through all this groupthink, cut through all this echo chamber shit.
Absolutely. These freaking Americans, man, let me tell you, they're obsessed with their wide receivers. Their running back is not dead. We'll certainly get into that, but no, I could not recommend traveling across the pond enough. I mean, it was my first time ever doing it, and I talked all about it on Badge Bros today, but super eye-opening and just super awesome.
Yeah, and the only downside being, of course, you can't enter any more new drafts whilst you're away on the people's platform of Underdog. But let's keep building the pressure. More Americans come over to this side of the world, win your Underdog, and sooner or later they will have no choice. But we've got loads to talk about, loads to get into. Most importantly, though, we are 11 subscribers away from 2,000. If you haven't hit that button already, do us a solid. I don't want to be here till 3 a.m. streaming until we hit that number, but I will keep Nez and Tyler here until 8 o'clock in the evening for them. It'll be much worse for me, but we've got plenty we want to pick your brain on, Nez. Tyler, fire away, man. I know you've got questions galore.
Well, I mean, we've got the Pittsburgh Steeler insider and influencer himself, and we have never had such a weird situation where a team that flopped so miserably for most of the year outside of 3 dudes and kind of Pickens until 4 or 5 game sample last year. But the running backs mattered. Pickens mattered for a few games, and then no one else really mattered. And now this year we've got, the hated scoundrel himself of the fantasy community, Arthur Smith, in town. Both quarterbacks are essentially free. And I'm over here just trying to, is my understanding of the offense right? Do we want several pieces? Which running back matters? Do both matter? Both costs, they're almost right next to each other. Which quarterback's going to be playing in the playoffs? And most importantly, week 17. And do we even sniff at Freiermuth, or do we just draft his third string backup? I'm trying to unlock this Pittsburgh puzzle, and I need your insight, Nez.
Oh, it's a puzzle. I mean, there's no question about it. And you really hit on it when it comes to who's going to be the quarterback when it matters most. And that's a tough one, because if this was 3 years ago, let's say, and this was the current situation, I would say it's Russell Wilson, and it will be Russell Wilson. And let's say it's Russell Wilson's current skill set. And I say because then and now I can't say the same now, is because, you and I kind of talked, Tyler, on Twitter, back and forth there for a minute. This Steelers team and how they operate is not your old man Steelers team. They are much more flexible, and it seems much more willing to make changes on the fly than they were in the past. So I could totally see a scenario where like Russell Wilson's the quarterback, maybe he's not playing well, or maybe they're just like waiting for like to be comfortable with Justin Fields, and then bam, we get the change, and now Justin Fields is that quarterback, and it kind of makes drafting the Steelers really shitty right now because who do you take? Like we're back to this that the Trubisky I can't remember Kenny Pickett scenario all over again right now, but with some more exciting options, albeit.
Well, it's so weird because like one of those guys is going to be super valuable. Like Russ averaged like 20 points a game in his healthy games. The stretch with like a 23, 22 and a half points per game. Fields hits those 25, 32, 35. He's got a 40 game ceiling in him. So it's like you want access to that, but at what cost? Like, are we just flipping a coin? And that's where it's tough because like all the coach speak says Russell was their guy. That's their plan. And then Kenny's like, nah, I'm out. And they're like, shit. Well, we need a backup because we let the other guy walk. So here it's Fields, and it's a guy we like. But it's like, do we do the Trey Lance thing that, well, he's got to make it, right? And it's like, do we chase that? But it's like, well, Russell didn't play bad last year, and it was probably an offense that didn't suit him well. And that's where it's tough for me is because these guys' weaknesses and strength are like they're pretty much overlapping. Like they both take too many sacks. They both kind of try to make plays. Obviously, Fields has a lot more juice in his arm and his legs, but Russ has that like veteran status that they trust. And so it's tough because like they should ideally fit better in this heavy play action, like Arthur Smith like game where they're going to limit the pass attempts, really focus on the run, really focus on those wide open shots. So it's like, will Russ even have enough chance to like really hit the wall and suck? Or is this like that Seattle sweet spot where he like really thrived? You know, that's where it's tough for me is like, and especially because it's not like Russ is going like the top 150 or anything. He's basically, he and Fields are like back to back, like free.
Yeah. So now Fields is set at QB 26, Russ at QB 32. And I asked Eric Beinfor this on our DraftKings Street last week. But Nez, if you knew which one was going to start week 17, where would you draft Justin Fields and where would you draft Russell Wilson?
I think you can sort of look back to their ADPs last year and not as high as Justin Fields was going last year. Don't get me wrong. But I think the point is that like drafters understand that if Justin Fields is playing a football game, his ceiling is extremely high. It's just we just didn't see it, unfortunately, quite as much last year. I got the Dog Bowl shirt back there. I put it all on the line for Justin Fields against the Lions last year. I thought that was a great spot at home. That didn't get home, but I think at the end of the day, if Justin Fields is starting, he's got a ceiling that like makes him enticing on a week-to-week basis. So to answer your question, if I knew Justin Fields was going to be the starter in the playoffs, and I mean, let's just say he's not killing a team in the regular season as well. Does he go like certainly ahead of Bryce Young, right? But that's a no-brainer.
Drafters are not excited about the Canales bump at all. That's very much aware. Like, I don't know if Bryce is going to crack 160, and I don't even think any amount of hype is going to get him past that because people have already decided small boy is bad, and it's hard to blame him. Like he's free, but it's like, what do you win when he's not awful?
No, it's very true. So I guess like I would probably do Fields. I honestly, man, if I guarantee that's the exercise, I would say around 10 or 11.
That kind of feels fair. In terms of the other Steelers, I mean, who else is somebody that you're really happy to draft at the minute?
Well, they are really loading up on at O-line. I mean, they kind of told us they were going to do that, and they sure as hell did. So I'm not upset about that because that's obviously like an important part of a team becoming.
Say the line, good. Bart. Say the line. It's Najee season. He feels it in his bones.
Yeah, I mean, it really does seem like they're setting up for that scenario where when Russ, was in his prime, we were begging, let Russ cook, and instead they cook very sparingly, and they instead lean on the run very heavily and use Russ like in break glass in case of emergency. They've got, a very strong defense. They're loading up on the O-line. It really does seem like they're just like trying to be a very boring conservative team. Now, obviously, like, the elephant in the room here is they drafted Roman Wilson and did not do anything else at wide receiver. I think Roman Wilson, we've got Ben Sinnott going like right around Roman Wilson. Why is Roman Wilson not going higher in drafts? Like, I know I'm a Steelers fan, but to me, that just seems like kind of strange. I don't know if people are anticipating another foot to drop, but it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen if it hasn't happened pre-draft or hasn't happened yet. So I'm excited for Roman Wilson.
So do you believe he's like the favorite to hit 2 wide receiver sets as long as he's picking up the offense well? Because I definitely think he's got more juice and more likely to hit the outside starting than like the guy like, whatever Calvin Austin's the other guy they have. Like I think he's the favorite to do that. But
Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson, like who are we're not,
I think he's
we're
at the
not really
juice.
scared of him, right?
Yeah, my concern and trepidation is like we saw this Arthur Smith offense, and again, worse quarterbacks, but even with Fields last year, he wasn't really supporting a second wide receiver. It was pretty much through the tight, Cole Kmet, the tight end, and DJ Moore. So it's like, whether it's Russ or Fields starting, I wonder from a volume standpoint if Roman can like truly matter on, a low passing volume. I mean, like the running game is going to be the focus, and I have a similar concern with like Pickens. Is like Pickens isn't as good as DJ Moore, and we were not thrilled about DJ Moore's price, but his like spike weeks definitely paid off in a big way. So it's like I'm more than happy to play the offense through like the running backs and Roman just because of price. But yeah, Pickens feels expensive to me. What are you buying in? Just
Pickens is very expensive.
There.
He's super expensive, but I mean, like I understand how drafters are getting there. Like it's an upgrade at quarterback. I mean, it's Russ, but it is an upgrade at quarterback, and there's less competition around him. So I totally understand why drafters are doing that. Plus, I mean, what he did at the end of the season is just like it's so fresh in drafters' minds. Like they can't get those explosion games out of their head, which I totally understand. But for me, I tend to want more volume out of my pass catchers. I mean, unless you're like Debo, like I do love Debo. I don't give a shit about anything about how hyper efficient Debo is. Like I don't care. I want Debo on a lot of my teams this season. That's one of my early flag plants. But
100%.
Pickens, I'm not going to have a lot of.
Okay, yeah, I was curious about that because
So would you be surprised at all if Roman Wilson ends up with like 20 more catches than Pickens?
No. I think the comp for Roman Wilson, and I mean, this is like what you hope for, and it's not. This isn't going to like, get your pants aroused, but like, I think Josh Downs, right? I think you maybe kind of hope he's Josh Downs, like get him 70 catches for 770 yards. Like,
with a quick note that Josh Downs was really good until he apparently just totally effed up his leg or his foot, and they were like, get ready to learn bandaged leg routes, buddy, and get out there because we're not running Alec Pierce like as the number 2. So I mean, I'll take that, especially if that comes down at like the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep expectations low here.
So we are in a draft, first round of it, going pretty much as you'd expect, apart from Breece Hall maybe going slightly earlier at 103. Nez, we're at 111. Anything you've been kind of hitting quite routinely around this range?
I have been, hitting yellow really, really hard, especially because like Saquon and the Eagles, it's a big upgrade as far as the team goes, but like I'm not super stoked about him, especially given the way the drafts are going at this range. It feels like you need to take Puka here. I love Gibbs on a week-to-week basis, but the way that the draft landscapes are going, I feel like this is like a no-brainer at this point to take a wide receiver here.
Absolutely, especially with Steph Miller of leg up. Right on our ass. Gonna ruin our nice piss.
No freebies in this one.
No, this is gonna be a boxing match in the corner, a la Mike Tyson. So.
Yeah, and then so like I will say, man, at pick 14, I'm a bit of a wild card. So I think Puka like is totally deserving of being like a locked in bona fide first rounder. at this pick here, like I can be talked into a lot of things. Dude, I've been doing Debo. I've been going crazy and doing Debo, but
You a
you
big
guys like
Debo
Drake.
guy?
I'm not gonna force you to go Debo Samuel here. Like if you want to do
Oh, yeah.
like I love Drake London. I was a big Drake London bull last year, so I'm just like feeling a little scorned. And I was
I'm
hoping
easy on both. They're both players that I'm above consensus on.
I
Go on,
like them
Tyler.
over Barkley and Jonathan Taylor, I will say. So like that, like
In the
obviously
name of CLV, I think we should probably go Drake, but I don't. I agree with your sentiment. I think you're kind of alluding that basically probably after AJ Brown Marv, it's just the entire second round at wide receiver is just one big flat tier till like what after Neighbors Waddle go. I think DK is like that true third round receiver, and like everybody in between is like flip a coin. I if you could tell me exactly every one of those dudes' stats in the last 3 weeks in no particular order, I'm just going to take the guy with the biggest 1 week ceiling. Like I can make a case for any of those guys. Like I think they all have equal amounts of question marks, and it's going to be frustrating all summer unless we get some sort of like trade or injury news or someone's struggling in camp, like or Adams. You know what? I think probably the only thing that's going to settle it for me is if some of these older guys that are being priced as old guys actually struggle in camp with injury, like Kupp and Kelsey last year, and that was like true signal that hey, this season's going to be tough on these 30 plus year olds. Outside of that, I'm gonna play schedule ping pong. Like
probably.
I don't know. No, it's not fun. I want to have strong takes.
One thing I feel like I'm already definitely being bogged down from before we get the schedule. It's these picks on the turn. Like, Nez, are you finding yourself just trying to be extra different on any of your times where you pull those 11, 12 picks? Anything you're really reaching for or doing around there? Or is Debo frequently being added to Puka, that kind of stuff?
I will be honest, like I've probably done around like 20 drafts, and like I am running like ridiculously hot at the 101. So now I'm like trying to like get different. Yeah, I know, like
wow,
champagne problems.
What's it like to be rich? Wow.
I know, right? So I'm getting kind of crazy at the 101 where like I have been like are not like already getting bored, but like I am one to, I've done some Josh Allen at the 2-3 turn there. But I am definitely trying to do a lot of Debo around that turn just because I don't think a lot of people are doing it. And I love Debo's week to week ceiling. I mean, I that doesn't feel like like a controversial take, but I don't know, man. I just think a lot of people are going to be married to ADP, and like Tyler was saying, it just doesn't feel like there are any indicators that one player should be drafted over another. But I'm glad you went Drake London. I love Drake London. I'm trying to get myself to stomach this price for him.
Yeah.
But like being a former London Bull, I still am. I should just be, buying into it. But for whatever reason, I'm having a hard time with it. I don't know.
Achilles tear Kirk Cousins with one raging Michael Penix behind him isn't getting your trousers in a tizzy. I'm shocked.
It should because I love Michael Penix. But
I like making the bet on London. The way I justify it in my head is just like he's going to just see a crap ton of volume, and I can't say that for every other guy.
That's very true.
This is an interesting spot. What are we feeling, y'all?
Like I said, I am kind of partial to Josh Allen, just because I like the combination of floor and ceiling he gives you. And I feel like we're gonna. I know we got Steph there. It feels like these running backs we can just like wait on. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm down for Josh Allen. I think like I was a bit worried his ADP was going to end up in the sort of the 20s like last year, and it just seems like everybody's comfortably just sitting back a little bit further on quarterback this year, and he just feels more palatable for me anyway. And with no digs there, it's so easy to stack him. I haven't been taking a lot of Kincaid, but you look at Shakir, you look at Curtis Samuel, look at even Keon Coleman going up the draft boards, and I just think it's a very easy offense to be buying into.
Yeah, the prices on all those guys are super, super palatable, like you said. And I mean, the additions of Coleman and Samuel, I mean, I don't want to like downplay Diggs, but not a bad little arsenal for Josh Allen. Like maybe I don't want to say it's better than last year, but it's definitely like fine.
Do y'all want to
Okay.
reach to stack him with Dalton, knowing that we have options ahead, or do we want to play the ADP game?
So how are you feeling about Derrick Henry, Tom?
I mean, I love Derrick Henry. I've been leaning towards T. Higgins here, though. I feel like T. Higgins is going to jump 7-8 spots in ADP when he either gets a contract or reports to training camp. But I mean, I'll go easy on any of those.
Yeah. I don't have. I'm not too strong there. Hopefully, we can get like a Kincaid fall. The tight end landscape. We could talk, for hours on just on that alone. Matt Collins is a bill. Let's go. I need to get up on my round 18 darlings. Matt Collins will certainly be one of them.
To be fair, Buffalo is like leading the league in like big useless wide receivers with Claypool and Matt Collins in town.
Oh yeah, I did know Claypool was there. That's pretty funny, but. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not trying to sound like Liam here, but you could make an argument that this wide receiver core for the Bills is like at least laterally. I know they lost Diggs, but like why I'm trying to wrap my head around like why Diggs wasn't like a superstar last year.
Can I hit you with some advanced ball knowing?
Ooh, please. That's why I'm here, man.
Well, when they made the OC change and left what Dorsey was doing, they kind of turned Diggs into like this possession receiver, like dropped his A-dot, tried to just ball control offense with Josh, put the turnovers lower, run the ball a lot, do a lot of short passing and stuff, utilize the yak stuff. And Diggs is just not like, he's a great receiver, but he just doesn't really fit that mold very well. And it certainly didn't like vibe with his desire to like crush and hit downfield. So I think from a utilization standpoint, he probably isn't as dusty as the advanced metrics look, given that he's going to go to this like, play action, deep, heavy offense in Houston. But I'm kind of concerned that Buffalo is really doubling, like everyone they brought in, like Claypool and Mack and Keon Coleman are all kind of these like really athletic yak dudes, not really polished deep receivers. Curtis Samuel, same thing. He's a PPR merchant. And so like that they're making the plane out of like this Cliff. It's basically Buffalo Cliff Kingsbury like horizontal offense. Mm-hmm. And I'm interested to see how that's going to work the entire season long, because they also like their pass rate just plummeted. So they get lucky if Coleman's like better than rookie Claypool, which was just like, big efficient, like Christian Watson, Claypool, like just breaking off this yak stuff, because they don't really truly have a deep guy in this offense now to take the top off. And I wonder if they're playing, it almost feels like they're just putting their hands up to too high and they're like, all right, you win. We're lowering the A-dot by like 15 yards. And
I think they're copying the Chiefs' homework.
Yeah, and the Chiefs wanted to do that. They didn't do that just because everybody they signed sucked,
Well, we're back on the clock with Puka Nacua, Josh Allen, Drake London, and of course, who else do we go? Where do we go there?
Sorry, we got
you tell me. T. Higgins, yeah. So I mean, I'd be down for taking James Cook and adding him in here. I feel like running back stacks are something that still make your quarterback stacks quite different. Anyone else you guys want to shout for?
I like the James Cook pick here, and then I will hope that Steph doesn't double tap these Chiefs wide receivers here, because I love both of them, and I would love to make the decision easier on us if she just takes one and we get the other one. But I kind of sometimes I forget we're on stream and the people drafting with us are watching. So here comes it.
Steph, yes. No. Oh God, I can't get on board with Hollywood. I'm really struggling.
Oh, Tom, where are you at on Hollywood? Because he's a former Raven.
I'm down with it. I think that if he gets any more expensive, I won't be down with it. But when you compare him to Lad McConkey, but I like what Tyler's doing with Keon.
I think we have to get at least one top 100 stack here.
So one of the things that I kind of want to go back to on the Bills, I think what they're doing is try to build a faster team. You look at them last year, and Bills wide receivers averaged a 7.95 miles per hour burst score, which was 29th in the NFL. Gabe Davis was like 8.2. Stephon Diggs was 7.73. So burst score is like within the first couple of yards of your route. or route, as you Americans would prefer me to say. Get a lot of grief on here when I say the correct
No,
English.
no, I want to adapt to you, Tom. I still got the European in me, so we're gonna say root.
So Curtis Samuel, his burst score was 9.08 miles per hour. It was the third quickest among all wide receivers with a minimum of 300 routes. So I think there's part of that that's involved in it. I think they want to be quicker. They know Dalton Kincaid can be quick. Stephon Diggs wasn't quick. Gabe Davis was mediocre when it came to that. So I'm expecting them to be a quick team that develops things possibly native line of scrimmage to open things up downfield. But yeah, I'm still hopeful that Curtis Samuel is going to be a big part of this.
Where are those numbers from? Those are very cool.
So those are next gen stats.
Hell yeah, that's good shit, man. Yeah. I mean that's a strong philosophical change. I mean, you can see those. I mean, who you're replacing with faster guys. I mean, that just like kind of tells you what they're thinking, and you sort of see the league doing that in general too. I mean, the Chiefs having Xavier Worthy, the Dolphins building the entire plane out of just the fastest dudes that they can find. I mean, it seems like a change that the league is going in. Like, we just need to go fast, and we need to get as many guys that can go fast as possible.
Was it Coleman famously the fastest gauntlet player at the combine, which Puka was last year too, which was our only, because we don't get comprehensive college speed. I look up like the top speeds of all the players year over year in college. Mm-hmm. But you know, the league has access to like those game by game data samples, and the reason why the Rams were higher on Puka famously, and they were worried at the combine because even though his like 40 was slow, he was the fastest gauntlet runner, and he had one of the highest wide receiver speeds, game speeds in college. And so they were like, his timed 40 isn't his real speed, and we know he's much faster than this. And similar with Keon, he was the fastest combine gauntlet runner. So maybe they got helped by all this speed.
They were probably jumping for joy when he had a bad 40, Puka, that is, because I mean they were just like, thank God, like, now we can get this guy for free. Wow, that's that's good stuff, man. You guys are just putting me on, man. I'm just getting started. You guys are knee deep, man. I'm loving this. So now I'm the guest.
Well,
I'm supposed to be fire and takes. Good.
That is what we do around here. And if you haven't subscribed already, hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button. We are 9 subscribers away from 2,000. Do not make me stay up all night waiting for that to hit 2,000.
Hit the 2,000, and the cowboy hat goes on immediately for the rest of the draft. You want that for all the rest of the rounds. Just do it. You know you want it.
And it is Steeler week around here. I have Felix coming on the Wednesday show for DraftKings draft. He will be talking about winning $1 million on DraftKings. We'll talk about whether he's still in on Najee. We'll talk about the rest of his takes and strong stances, who he's going to be like 80% ownership on this week. It is going to be a fun week. Lots more best ball content coming your way. Tyler, could you recap our team for us?
Would love to. So we are picking out the 11th spot. We have Josh Allen at quarterback, James Cook at running back, wide receiver. We have Puka, Drake London, please stay healthy all 17 games, Higgins, and Keon B at least, Chase Claypool, rookie year, Coleman.
Lovely. How do you feel about it so far, Ness?
I like it. I'm a big Coleman bull, or I was pre-draft. Oh boy.
Are you in on Deontay at this point, or do we start kind of like gazing our eyes at actual Pittsburgh Steelers here at the turn?
I mean, wide receiver gets ugly pretty quickly, doesn't it?
That is true.
Yeah. I like Deontay.
Steph's going to take a wide receiver if we don't. She's only got 3 so far.
Yeah. I'm glad we did that, and I like the Deontay Johnson price. I know that he's a former Steeler, so like I have rose-colored glasses like when it comes to Deontay Johnson, but I really do believe he's a very good fit for Bryce Young. Like, I think that just made perfect sense. Like, I hate when people talk shit on Deontay Johnson because it's like the dude gets open. I mean, he is like Keenan Allen-esque when it comes to like running the routes, and Keenan Allen-esque as far as like after the ball too, not really doing a whole lot there. He's a small guy, but I mean, he's a technician. All right, if we're doing this, I'm gonna say Jonathan Brooks.
I'm 100% with you.
Jonathan Brooks is like quietly, maybe not so quietly, like flying up draft boards right now. And I think you're going to get CLV on Jonathan Brooks, and he does correlate with Deontay Johnson. He's a teammate. So you just kind of set them up for that opportunity to be in a shootout at some point when it matters a lot. So the correlation boost is there. As much as I love Najee and Jalen Warren with Arthur Smith and no wide receivers around them in that offense, I think Jonathan Brooks, does not have a lot of competition around him. And you hear the way freaking Jerry Jones talks about him. I mean, and the way that the Panthers coach, most importantly, the guy who drafted him, talks about him, he's very stoked about Jonathan Brooks. So I'm cool with a little Panthers double tap there. Hopefully they get a nice Week 17 matchup. I can't stress enough how excited I am for the schedule release.
just going back to Deontay Johnson, like it just feels
Yes.
like because people have been sick of him at certain points, it's kind of going under the radar. But last year he had career best years in yards per route run, like 1.9, PFF receiving grade, yards per catch, yards per target, and also like had a career low 3.5% drop rate. Deontay Johnson had a really good season last year, despite all the turmoil in Pittsburgh. But because we've done the Deontay Johnson thing a few times, people are now firmly either in on Deontay Johnson or they're out on Deontay Johnson. And there seems very few people who are going to be like, okay, well, I guess I'll just have like 6%, 8% Deontay Johnson.
I wish I could remember his ADP last year. There's no way. I know he opened up low and like climbed like 20 spots or something crazy.
Yeah, I think he opened up in like the low 80s, mid 70s, rose into the 60s to overtake Pickens until he got hurt, and then he fell back down into the mid 70s, if I recall correctly. He floated between 50 and 70 all summer. It seemed like. And it just hit me. We're talking about him. And the Bryce point, I think, is salient because Bryce is most comfortable with like clean separation routes, especially intermediate. That's where he crushed in college.
Yeah.
And Deontay reminds me a lot of Jacoby, where he's getting open. He's underrated. He was just more expensive than Jacoby, and they both struggled to find the end zone despite opportunities to do so, especially last year. He ran real cold on end zone targets, famously. And so this year, I think that's a salient point that he could potentially see similar to Jacoby, like the right situation with the right quarterback, with the right offense. He could finally really pop off. We've seen that in his range of outcomes with Ben. And I think late career Ben and Bryce remind me a lot of each other with like, you know exactly where the route is. You know exactly where he's going to win. The ball's going to go where it needs to go. And I trust Canales to at least do that, like facilitate a good passing offense. And he's improved the guards, which is huge for a smaller guy like Bryce, similar to Brady, similar to Peyton, similar to Breeze. You protect the inside pressure, and he can navigate the pocket with the tackles. And as far as the Brooks thing goes, I think he's going to avoid the pup. I think even if they ramp him up the first 4 weeks, all signs indicate he's going to be able to be someone that can be a workhorse. The pass catching, especially from coming off an ACL, we're not sure what his athletic profile is. So from like the health standpoint, I'm a little skeptical to say this is a Brees situation because we knew Brees was an elite athlete, but all signs point to his, like, he was popping in college speed and he's so young. And the physicians, if Jerry was that in on him, I trust the Dallas doctors a lot. Shout out Steph, probably, has the knowledge of that endpoint. So I think
they did the surgery, right? Or am I thinking something else?
The Dallas doctor famously, did it. So I have a really good feeling about his floor and ceiling there.
Yeah.
Especially late. And then, if we're getting basically young Rashad White, but he might be a better rusher than Rashad was in a similar offense. I think at this price, I think it's a really, really big hit. JJ Zacharyson notes that, for a running back at that draft capital going in this range, it's just all the marks for hitting off. And I think, like you said, the second we get any sort of like positive health news, his ADP is going to skyrocket.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, this is a fun pick here.
Yeah, we're back up in one pick. Brock Bowers has fallen past ADP by 10 picks. Curtis Samuel's right at the top and goes just before us, of course. And then it's the Washington running backs, Cortland Sutton, Devin Singletary, AD Mitchell. For me, this kind of comes down to Brock Bowers or Brian Robinson. Nez, anyone that you bang the table for with 15 seconds?
Maybe Bowers for the value. Tyler, I would. My second pick would be Brian Robinson if you want to like break a tie here.
I think we might be able to get both.
Let's do that and push it with Steph having a tight end already.
Good call.
Yeah.
Way to read the room. Yeah, Bowers is an interesting one, man. I wish people would stop putting pictures of him on my timeline because, like, I think I have bigger biceps than him. I'm not gonna, put that on.
Flash him,
Hey.
Mr. Portugal. Come on, Portugal.
Oh
man.
no, I haven't lifted in like a week, dude.
No, but you have that supple bread that's fueling the muscles.
I'm gonna
Portugal
just because
famous
here,
for not having gyms.
What do you think?
Yeah, there we go.
Is Brock Bowers? I think I'm Brock Bowers' size.
He did us dirty.
That's hilarious.
The thing, sorry, go on, Tyler. Make a pick. I'm good with pretty much any of those three. I'd say possibly Khalil Shakir for the stack, but
I don't love Shakir's profile. I kind of don't mind reaching here for a big pop. What do y'all think?
I like Shaheed. I am worried that his quarterback's Derek Carr, but I think Shaheed is the real deal. As far as like what he does well, he clearly does it very, very well, and that's kind of like the perfect fit for best ball.
Well, notably, this hasn't gotten enough traction yet, but their new OC is not a donkey. It's a guy from the Shanny system who utilizes motion. Notably, New Orleans was bottom 5 in motion last year, and now they're finally getting like a modern offensive philosophy. And I mean, I'm all in on that. If Shaheed was catching 2 touchdowns a game on just YOLO balls from Derek Carr, I love this entire offense getting. To me, Rashid Shaheed is kind of like arbitrage Olave, like what 10 rounds cheaper, getting a big boost at the OC. He's a priority target for me, considering they also didn't add a tight end or a wide receiver early. So I mean, like, from a contingent value standpoint, I think he's got great standalone. Like in best ball, he's that Gabe Davis, like 2-3 touchdown upside, but you're not paying top 100 prices for him alone. The offense can get better. And if guys like aging Kamara, Jawan, who's like, 28, 29, box out tight end guy, but he's not really like a seam stretcher, and Olave, who's struggled with like lower body injuries off and on and inconsistency. I mean, the upside for Shaheed in any single week and then also season long, I think he's an easy smash target over some of these other guys. I don't get the Shakir ADP there, even with the stat, considering like he's competing with the likes of Curtis Samuel, Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman. Like those guys are going to be the priority targets as far as like how the offense is running. And I think for Shakir to get there, I think the Plains really had to like fall apart, and he's just nailing on a yak play. And I don't know that his upside in that scenario is akin to Shaheed, especially given that we also have some like divisional correlation with Carolina with Deontay and Brooks.
Yeah, good shout there. No, I'm with you, man. Shakir, it's nice he stacks, but this price to me, I just don't think he's shown enough to be taken here. We have guys that go in this range. I mean, this is like where things start to get a little less sexy. But as far as like week to week upside, Shaheed over Shakir, like I don't even have to think twice about that.
Yeah. Shakir, yeah, he definitely like he strikes me as that if he was more likely to break out when they didn't. Like, I think Curtis Samuel is his upside, and they signed Curtis Samuel to a really good contract. So I'm like, I know he's younger. He's been efficient. Steph notes good yards per route run. Who famously had really good yards per route run on very little work? Kadarius Toney. So like that doesn't tell me he's going to get more work necessarily, especially if the pass rate's a little bit lower. And I don't know. And I also kind of like the idea of like skinny stacking in these tournaments. To give us multiple outs, especially this early in the draft season where we don't have the schedule, we don't have any of the camp news to really drive those things. I like these multiple out scenarios. So that's why I also like Shaheed, because Derek Carr as a back stack, he's going like what 199, 200. So I don't think he's as big of a risk to be benched late as some people are making it out to be, considering the Saints, unlike the Steelers, have not changed who they are for a decade plus. They want to try to make the playoffs. They want to try to win, and they will do it at any cost whatsoever. And I don't think that means putting Spencer Rattler in. to try to like sneak into the playoffs.
Don't think so.
So in terms of a draft board and what we've got here, it feels like we've missed the decent running backs, really, apart from Jerome Ford's the only one, maybe Blake Corum I could be talked into. You guys, what are you seeing that you like?
Judy, and then like shut it down.
You like Judy?
Yeah.
Oh, gross.
I know, dude. I know it's gross. I know. I understand that it is like that. It is disgusting. But like we could shut it down. Now
Judy shuts it down. The vibes are dead. Like
7. we have 7. We took 7 in our first 12. That's not enough to shut it down for you. You don't think? Because like,
I have no Maria Kondo joy when I take Jerry Judy. So
that's a great reference.
Should we lean towards Jalen Wright here for a bit of NFC East correlation and kind of hope that gets a bit lucky?
I like that.
You like Wright over Lloyd?
Yeah,
I think so. I think so. A little bit more of a flexible situation in Miami. Green Bay, Lloyd still has AJ Dillon there, and obviously, the god Josh Jacobs and Blake Corum. This Blake Corum stuff is interesting to me, man. Just because he just feels like Kyron was so good last year. He was so good last year, and I know they want to use him less, but I think when it comes to I'm trying to think way more. I always try to like reinvent my entire process like every year because like I'm just like begging them on my hands and knees, like begging to make a best ball finals. I think just like shoot, just get best ball brain, like who can just go the hell off and like this, like the Jalen Wright pick was just like tailor made for the Dolphins is kind of how it feels like, just based on the way he was used in college. I feel like Mike McDaniels just like saw that. I was like, let's like put him in another situation where he can kind of feel familiar and just like run free. Just be fast, buddy. That's all they do in Miami.
Mike McDaniels is like the 9-year-old girl with hamsters, and they go out to a meadow and they're just like, be free, be happy. And that's just every fast person in college with Mike McDaniels. And you know what? I get trepidatious. I'm going to use it twice. Such a good word.
It's a great word.
I'm
We're
really
so
nervous.
full of culture tonight.
Just guzzling
nowhere else.
Yeah. Wright's price seems bad to me until I realize this is an offense that is gonna anyone with speed can get home, and they've built the entire plane out of yak and speed in a good way. And Mostert is 32 going on 33. A-Chain did miss a bunch of games with ankle and leg at 185, 190. And also, even despite age and size and BMI, there are markers there, but we also just know running back is one of the most injured over the course of a season positions. Right. So Wright immediately walks into RB3 with a lot of juice in an offense that can pop anybody for one long score. And that's without like 5 touches a game is exciting. He's what everybody wanted Keaton Mitchell to be. And Keaton Mitchell had a couple of those games. He had like 2 or 3 games last year, Tom, where it was like 5 or 6 touches for like 50, 60 yards and a touchdown. So Wright presents that standalone value as just like a big lever. But then also you've got 2 outs with Achane and Mostert. And so you're just hoping he's not the landmine. But you know what? That's a good reminder, especially divisional week 17, Josh Allen stacked with Keon Coleman. Wright pops it off because Tua's noodle arm can't hack it in the cold, and they just hand it off to Wright, who skinnies down the hole, jukes a third-string Buffalo tight end because, God, they can't tackle by week 17. Boom, house call. I
think looking at the board, just real quick, I think looking at the board here, the only other running back I maybe would have taken here, I think is maybe like Ty Chandler. I think way down there.
I think Marshawn and Ty Chandler belong in that tier.
We've taken Ty Chandler on every stream we've done so far. So.
Yeah, he kind of belongs there. Oh, interesting range. Ooh, I love. So, what are you guys into Ray Davis with James Cook on the team? Because I am not afraid of hand cooking, but Kendre Miller definitely makes sense with the Carolina correlation and the Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I would do
down with
that.
that. I like that.
Yeah, and then God forbid Steph takes away our beautiful Hunter Henry. I mean, I dare her. Just ruin your team for the bit. I double dog dare you because I'm into Hunter Henry a lot.
Yeah, Hunter Henry's just been a very easy click at the minute, way more so than Luke Musgrave after wave that Tucker Kraft came on down the stretch. Tucker Kraft played 30% of snaps for the vast majority of the season until Luke Musgrave was out injured and then was playing like 99% or so. So it just doesn't feel like Tucker Kraft is going back in the box and that Luke Musgrave is going to be out there. We do have just one quarterback still. Nez, when you've taken Josh Allen, do you still find yourself leaning towards 2 QB builds this early, or are you trying to squeeze in, like here, we could look at Derek Carr and Bryce Young potentially as like very cheap late options? What's your kind of leaning there?
I would say just based on the way that this team is looking right now, I would probably do something like a 2-6-7-3, just because Hunter Henry is our tight end 1. But not afraid to take 3 QBs with Josh Allen. It feels bad just because he is like a QB 1. But if you get your stacks and if it makes sense and they're super cheap, like there's nothing wrong with just diversifying yourself in a big week. So
especially at this point in the season, where like your last 3 rounds, I think the value in those is like hitting guys that can pop off in a big way. And those are typically your younger players. And those guys have not even been in camp yet, or they're just getting into rookie camp. So we have no and so you asked about the Ray Davis thing. I don't mind handcucking at where we got Cook, except we don't know if Ray Davis, a late drafted guy, is going to actually be the RB2, RB3. Like they've kind of thus far given it to the veteran running backs we don't like, and like Ty Johnson, and it's so I'm okay once we have information that those guys will actually be there. I don't want to be hanging on to a dead roster spot at that price. I think Ray Davis is mispriced right now. It's Buffalo and he's definitely the RB2, and it's like I don't like that price until it's clear, because he was a 4th or 5th round pick. No, he wasn't a 4th. Yeah, it was like a 5th round pick. So same thing with like Kamani Vidal. Like it's an exciting story we tell ourselves, Garindo and all that, but it's like the draft capital does not mean they've earned their spot yet. And we've seen undrafted guys take drafted guys' spots in camp. So I like a little bit more information this early on.
I think this year is going to be very indicative of how the NFL sees drafting running backs on the whole. There was a real run on running backs when they did get taken in the draft, and it seemed that teams were comfortable waiting until that point, apart from, the Panthers. And if this is just where teams value them, we've seen how they value their contracts, then how many of these guys come in and see meaningful roles from day one? Because if that's the case, that 2 or 3 of these guys are out there within the first couple of weeks playing sizable snap rates, then this time next year, we're going to have a very different opinion on 4th and 5th round running backs in the draft. But for now, I absolutely agree that this is the way to play it.
Yeah. I like
these running backs are just like confusing. I'm feeling confusion. I'm just like, I feel so much better about taking like a Tyler Algier than I do, like a Ray Davis and other guys.
That's a really good, that's a really good shout. Like, I think that's an early edge that you can have on the rest of the drafting field, is they're taking a higher risk, and that can pan out. But I think valuing the unknown depth running backs over the known depth running backs is an easy edge to push in early and often. And Tyler Algier,
especially when you sorry, I was just saying, especially when the people drafting right now are just like deranged individuals that want to take these rookies like that's why they're drafting, because they want to feel the rush of taking the mystery box, when it's just they're likely to get cheaper unless like something happens.
No, fully agree. This is going to be an interesting turn. I think I have a lean. We'll see what the drafter in the 10 spot does.
It's Rashad Bateman, right?
I wish it could be.
You know what? If it took Jerry Jeudy an ugly pick to shut it down, then I'm glad. What are we?
So
what are we thinking?
what's your lean, Tyler?
just finish up tight end here and then allow ourselves to finish out at the last few picks for it. I think this is a tier break.
I do a lot of Kate Otten, and I like Jonnu in Miami. I think he represents a different type of tight end that is just that they've really never had in Miami, other than, I mean, Gesicki was a receiving tight end, but like in this new look Miami offense, like with the way that they've been playing with Mike McDaniels there, I'm excited that Jonnu Smith is there. So hopefully we can get him back. I am curious where you guys are at on Tyrone Tracy. See him flying up boards. Currently the RB2 in New York, I believe. Are you guys like, do you have any like strong takes on Tyrone Tracy, even though there he goes?
I mean, I'm kind of just more in on Singletary. I don't mind Tyrone Tracy. I don't think he's approached a point yet where I need to have a take on him. I'm good with Jonnu here, Tyler.
Okay,
but yeah,
I think the running backs are all pretty much the same bet.
Yeah, I think if we get to a point where Tyrone Tracy is in the 15th round, then perhaps it's going to be time for me to like feel like I need a take. But at the minute, I mean, if we're building hero RB, we're building zero RB, we're going to be taking shots on this point of the draft. And you go back to when Pete Overzet made his big board video when it was kind of 50% full, and he asked a bunch of us for their advice. I think it was the scroll the F down video that he was asking people for their kind of favorite tactics for approaching the big board. It was around that time.
Yeah.
Mine was just simply take shots on the rookie running backs, because even though everyone's down on these guys, one or two of them is going to hit in a big way. And rookies, we know consistently are more useful at the back end of a season. So until the cost gets to a point where it becomes slightly painful, I'm fine with it, really. But I mean, I'd rather have 15% Devin Singletary and 8% Tyrone Tracy, I guess, would be the way I'd look at it.
Agreed. I think the one thing from like a prospect profile thing is I think he's got a lot of interesting, fun markers. But he was a much older prospect and again, not strong draft capital. And he is coming into an offense where they paid a vet a lot of money. That vet has played very well in this system. And he happens to also be super close homies with the head coach. So I just don't know, like opportunity wise, what he's going to see behind a hobbled, coming off an injury Daniel Jones, behind a still seemingly shaky O-line. Like I don't know, right? He's fine. He's fine. I don't know that I feel like he's a rookie running back, but he's not quite the profile of guy I'm stupidly excited about, just because he seems to be more of that. He may just be fancy James White, but on a potentially bottom 10 offense. And I don't know if that's good, given Daniel Jones isn't exactly like that guy. But I think the running back room is thin. So I think he's probably he is probably the favorite to be the two from a talent standpoint. And he's got contingent upside. I think people can get a little too excited about just pass catching backs. In and of itself. I don't know. It's fine.
The thing too is like, even when like let's say like in I hate like saying this, best case scenario of like Singletary getting hurt or something, and Tyrone Tracy steps up. I mean, it's still not even like a guarantee that he's going to just up and smash as well.
I mean, they didn't do that last year when Saquon missed. They split between what was it, Matt Breida and Eric Gray. Like they both kind of did like 45, 55, 60, 40. And
yeah, I'm definitely going to keep my ear to the streets though. And like, any positive buzz on Tyrone Tracy that like, I'm certainly going to react accordingly.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of that's fairs in chat. Put your money where your mouth is. That's fair. The sub button. Get us to 2K. Come on. Very nice. Hit that 2K button. Let's go.
Did I say it?
No. No, I'm just I'm reading all of our friends in the chat just giving us their Sam Sherman that's fairs. But I think what you said is pretty, and Tom alluded to this. We know the late rookies have a lot of juice. I just think the edge is knowing who those guys likely to be are, but not being grounded to those, because they could be overrun by the rookies we like less, but they're doing better in camp. So I think I'm at the point now where I want to be hype agnostic of a good chunk of these late guys and just wait to hammer the news. Like
Yeah,
I don't care what name I hear. I want to hammer the guy that's doing well, that's getting all the buzz.
This early, I'm more concerned about what their fit is within a team, and does it fit the structure and the strategy that I'm going for more than the player takes on 15th to 18th round running backs, I guess. But yeah, we're back on the clock with 2 picks left. Should we grab a next quarterback, or do you want to push it around the corner and hope that Steph does a solid?
Who is it going to have to be? Derek Carr?
Yeah, I don't think Steph's going to take Derek Carr unstacked, so it's our choice of running back.
Okay, I'm into Foreman. I like Deontay Foreman.
Yeah, I think that's a good hedge against the Jerome Ford pick earlier on. I do like Jerome Ford, but I don't think he showed enough to kind of really hold that job completely to himself.
All right.
Yeah.
I will say one of the guys I am excited about that I hope we get some positive news on is Rasheen Ali. I think his depth chart isn't as deep as we think. Justice Hill's just his guy. Keaton Mitchell's coming off an ACL. Derrick Henry is famously warring against Father Time, only as good as Tom Brady. So I think it's going to be. I'm very interested to see what his camp news is, because he's got pass catching numbers that are much more interesting as a prospect profile, if I recall correctly, using JJ Zacharyason's rookie guide. So he's someone that has a lot of juice in both phases of the offense, where he could really, really pop. I mean, we've seen random guys in this offense hit, and he's legitimately free. I mean, he's technically John's favorite of a scroll the F down ADP. So that's where I'm like, that's where I'm kind of like, oh, like Tyrone and Kamani are like 3 to 4 rounds more expensive with just landing spot hype. But I think he's not too dissimilar of a bet considering how this team has used its running backs.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Rasheen Ali, people will talk down the pass catching stuff with the Ravens. They'll say, Lamar Jackson is going to check down. But this Todd Monken offense, they do want to check down. Last year, they didn't really have that in terms of the players. Gus is virtually a zero apart from.
We heard that was Dobbins' role before he went out.
Absolutely. And then Keaton Mitchell definitely had a little bit of that. You look back at what Rasheen Ali did in college. In 2021, he had 46 receptions on 56 targets. Last year, he had 27 on 38. This is a player who can absolutely add something in the receiving game. So I'm excited. I've been taking a bit of him on 20-round drafts on other lesser sites. But overall, it kind of feels like an okay bet to me. And I think when you compare him to guys like Audric Estime, Evan Hull, even the likes of Dylan Laub, or even Keaton Mitchell, who does have the ACL injury, I'm completely fine with it. Nez, have you got any other kind of late round targets in the scroll the F down thesis that you've been, kind of squirreling away, keeping goods to yourself and really hammering on whenever you can?
Oh man, well, I did want to say that's a pretty good shout with like Ali and the Ravens. I think it's interesting that I know other offenses have like catch more balls out of the backfield, but I mean the fact that Justice Hill caught 28 balls out of the backfield for the Ravens last year, and Keaton Mitchell was up to 9 before he got injured. I mean, it does seem like they are working on making that more of a thing. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about such a gem buried in the Steelers depth chart. But before I leave on this stream. So I follow some Steelers beat writers, one by the name of Nick Farabaugh, and he's so good. He is like one of the best beat writers in football. And part of the reason why I say him, he's just like always like on the nose with like what the Steelers are doing, what they're thinking, and who they like. And he was on Jaylen Warren before Jaylen Warren was Jaylen Warren. And I was trying to tell people like, hey, I think they really like this guy, Jaylen Warren. And then I'm seeing clips of him, and like obviously everybody looks good in camp, but like he was on Jaylen Warren, and Jaylen Warren popped. Well, the Steelers have an undrafted free agent running back, and maybe this is more of like a dynasty nugget. Daijun Edwards is Daijun Edwards, and he's getting like Jaylen Warren level buzz in the Steelers camp. So I'm not saying to take him in BBM, but like, God forbid if something were to happen in the Steelers backfield, like he clearly seems like the next man up in that backfield. I believe he went to Georgia, if I'm saying this correctly. So like SEC like pedigree. I mean, he's making a lot of noise.
He's in the player pool.
Yeah, he is.
He's yeah, I mean, he's one of those players, like you say, he's out of Georgia. He's 207 pounds, so it's like the knock on him coming out was a lot of people thought he might weigh in below 200 pounds and thought that might be a little bit light, a bit like Devin Achan. But yeah, I think that he's got all the tools. I think you look back at what he did at Georgia, he had over 750 yards in back-to-back seasons coming out. The Steelers are going to be a run-first offense, and I really like that. I think that's a lot of fun. If you want to learn more about Daijun Edwards, hit the join button down below. Anyone joining the silver tier and above gets Rich's rookie guide, 118 player write-ups in there, advanced stats, metrics, film takeaways. It's all in there along with Rich's dynasty rankings. It is absolutely the best value rookie guide around you will find. Tyler, you couldn't just pull up the draft board again for us just so we could just have a quick retrospective on that one, could you?
Yeah, let's do it. You know what? Some interesting things happened, if I recall correctly. Let's see.
Yeah, Eric Peterson was just going rogue at the 2-hole there.
Yeah, he's vibing.
I mean, it didn't turn out bad structurally, but I mean, just the
I love that he drafted Braylon Allen. And we were just talking about like we don't know who the backup running back is, and he's like, I'm putting my stamp. It's big boy. That
why are the Jets taking all of our fun rookie running backs from us? Why are they just stashing them away so nobody can have fun? You have
one hyphenated word for you. You ready? All right. Hack job. Okay. That's my nickname for Nathaniel Hackett. That organization, and which is hilarious. We've been calling Nathaniel Hackett like a disaster, and every team that hires him to like lure Rodgers in just implodes with toxicity and incompetence. And Connor Rogers, the beat, one of the beat reporters for New York, tweeted this morning of like the organization basically saying this guy has no idea what he's doing, and we're just going to let Rodgers call the plays because we're admitting that he did not like any of the play calls last year, and he's just going to do what he wants to do. And we don't want to fire him, but we want to hire someone and put him above Hackett that can call things. And by the way, any organization that decides like Hackett is an issue at OC, and you're like, well, that they don't draft the players. Okay, if you're in an organization that you were like, well, we'll just hire Rodgers' buddy to bring him in, and then you watch him be a disaster of a OC all season, and then you're like, we can't get rid of him. We'll just hire someone above him. I think people are finally coming to grips with what a circus like the New York Jets are. They want to give the GM a lot of their flowers for just nailing these draft picks without really considering that you've got to the GM's job is more than just draft picks. It's personnel management. And that GM also did not like protect their investment at quarterback behind Rodgers last year. And then when Rodgers went down, they still sat on their hands. Like Saleh and the GM, like it's not a good team. It's not a smart team. It's a team I'm going to continually fade outside of guys like Brees that are like really, really good. And that's why I'm still like nervous about Garrett Wilson's price. Because like you want to talk about a projection, like I'm way more confident that Drake London's going to pan out because I have way more faith in Zach Robinson than I do in Nathaniel Hackett or whoever his boss ends up being.
Now we're talking. That's spicy, man. That's spicy because I mean, off an ACL tear, say what you will, but man, I have a lot of faith in Garrett Wilson. A lot of faith in him.
I like the player,
I think he's so goddamn good. And like you cannot possibly overstate the difference between Aaron Rodgers from Zach Wilson. It cannot be overstated. Ask the pup. The pup will agree.
Moose knows.
Tyler, can you recap our team for us for the audio listeners? Because we will put this out on the podcast feed for anybody who's got dog walking, running, household chores, whatever you've got, we've got you covered on the audio feed as
we
well.
Love to service the audio listeners around here, for the grinders, for the good people. We have a 2-6-7-3 build. Josh Allen, Derek Carr, quarterback, James Cook, Jonathan Brooks, Brian Robinson, Jalen Wright, Kendre Miller, Donta Foreman. Really like how that running back room came together as far as profiles. Wide receiver, Puka Nacua, Drake London, T. Higgins, Keon Coleman, Deontay Johnson, Rashid Shaheed, and Jerry Jeudy. And then at tight end, we got Hunter Henry, Cade Otton, and Jonnu Smith. We just had to make sure to get one more Arthur Smith, Pittsburgh tie-in for our boy Nez.
That's a 4D tie-in there.
Just thinking with our fourth eye, really, just breaking through.
Nez, anything you would have done differently or anything you particularly like about that one?
So the running backs, I need to begin to like stomach drafting running back rooms like this because I do find it to be a little thin. And where we took Jalen Wright, I believe, or was that the Jalen Wright pick where I suggested Ray Davis? I think why I like
Kendrick Miller.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
So we were debating.
Yeah, it was Kendra, Ray Davis at the turn around Tyler Algier as well.
Yeah, so I like Ray Davis just because, I mean, well, I like the idea of like locking up a backfield's points and like there's one running back spot that like will not be a zero unless like a catastrophe situation happens.
We locked up the running back spot in Buffalo with Josh Allen and James Cook.
Oh,
that's their RB2.
That's true. If we can just somehow just pluck those points and put them in the RB spot. So where I've been like struggling, literally since the dawn of best ball is like what to do at running back. And I've gone through waves of like when I really started playing best ball at volume, I really said like F the running back position. Screw it. I'm doing like hyper fragile in the dumbest way possible. And then I kind of overcorrected in a way where I'm like, well, now I want to respect running backs more than the market does. Like all these streamers are like poo-pooing on running backs. I think we need to respect running backs a little bit more. Still didn't make a final. So like, I'm really struggling with like wide receiver is easy. Take the good ones and take them early. Like that's simple. The running back puzzle piece to me is what's really, really bothering me. And I don't know what the move is because we saw Karain win BBM with a running back start. And like, we called him a heretic. He lied to us.
It's the profiles, brother. It's the look. We were just talking about the Jets. It sounds like you're a man lost in the forest. And at times like this, you get a little ayahuasca, you get in touch with the third dimension, and the answers start coming to you. And I think at the end of the day, it's about chaos and variance and profiles. And that's what I've tried to be really cognizant of. I think you mentioned what's prudent is the groupthink isn't always right. The groupthink's not always on the right thing. And it's really hard to not get caught up in that. But also not getting caught up in just being a contrarian for contrarian's sake, because that's not necessarily value adding if you're not being purposeful with the zag and the zig. And I think that's where it's going to be an interesting push-pull from that standpoint of running backs. And sometimes it's just bad luck too, it's we've seen that.
I've just pulled this up on screen. You want to talk about running backs, and one thing people don't want to hear, Robust RB has worked fairly well over the last couple of years when you throw it in with an elite tight end. Like, here's some stats I pulled from the RotoViz Underdog Advanced Rate Explorer. If you selected your RB3 before round 5, tight end 1 before round 5 last year, you had a 17.1% advance rate. And you had such a different team compared to the amount of other teams in there who were leaning elsewhere. Obviously, it didn't win or something. But you look back, and if you were going limiting how many running backs you took, it's worked. That was 2022, which I've got on screen there. You can see if you went with a 5 RB build, you had a 20% advance rate. I do not like robust RB. I don't want to be doing a lot of robust RB builds. But when you talk about struggling with what's going on at the running back position, there's definitely other ways that we can be attacking it that probably aren't getting as explored. I just want to hit on one question from Steph quickly here, who was asking for a Dynasty trade. And I don't know how much you guys play Dynasty.
Love Dynasty.
But as always, I'm going to go back to Rich's Dynasty Survival Kit that we've got for all our YouTube members here. If you want to join, hit the join button down below. You get access to this and so many more resources, including all my best ball rankings and much more. So side 1, Drake May, Drake London, Jalen Waddle, or Caleb Williams, Roma Dunze, and a round 4 2025 pick. The round 4 2025 pick, I'm just not really interested in it. I mean, it's kind of worthless. You can see here on the screen, we've got this heavily on the A side: Drake May, Drake London, Jalen Waddle, Caleb Williams, and Roma Dunze. It's a nice stack, and it's the kind of thing which I'd definitely be interested in acquiring, but I think you're paying a little too much. Do you guys kind of agree with that value for Dynasty Superflex, or do you feel like you prefer to lock that Bears stack in for the next 5 years?
I'm Team A. I mean, I obviously I like Caleb Williams. I like Roma Dunze, but to me, this is definitely a Team A trade that I would be taking.
Tyler?
I mean, I think Drake May is still a top 3 quarterback drafted, and Jacob Sanderson and Pat always talk about how in these dynasty leagues, quarterbacks are a store of value. So when you're talking about those two guys, we would like to think Caleb is in a huge different tier to himself, and he set up really well year one. But famously, the first quarterback drafted last year busted like stupid hard. Trevor Lawrence busted really hard his first year, given his coach. So I think leaning into the uncertainty and just leaning on positions and profiles, yeah, I think you'd rather have two wide receivers, especially with Drake London coming this year. This is where he's fallen off a little bit, but he's still retained a lot of his value. And if he finally hits that third-year breakout with a competent quarterback and a high-volume offense, you're looking at 2 top 24 wide receivers at worst, and then a quarterback who should retain his value. I mean, like he might sit for half the year, so you're not going to get anything he does is going to be extrapolated small sample, and he's still going to have it was his rookie year. He didn't get to play the whole season. What's that year 2 going to look like? Blah, blah, blah. I think it's a no-brainer to stick with the Drake May, Drake London, and Waddle side.
There you go. As always, Dynasty, we got you covered. Redraft, we will have you covered. Best Ball, we most definitely have you covered. We will have Felix on Wednesday night to talk DraftKings, how to win $1 million, and much more. Nez, what's cracking on the Badge Bros this week?
So we've got the Best Ball show that we do with Pete Overzet on Wednesdays, off and on the clock. TBD on when that will air. We wanted to do like a fun schedule release show that comes out much later than we typically stream, but we always do that once a week on Wednesdays, and then we're crushing the Underdog Daily contest for MLB and NBA basically every day. So feel free to catch us on there. Tom, Tyler, really appreciate you guys having me on. You guys are just really some of the best at what you do, and get these guys to 2K, man. I mean, good lord, the information that you guys have is just, it's second to none. Truly, not even just saying that.
Yeah, we appreciate that. You ran so we could walk. 5 subs away from 2K. Look, it's past midnight here in the UK. I've got to be up in 5 hours.
Oh,
do me a favor, leave a comment, hit the like button. We'll be back on Wednesday for DraftKings, back on next Monday for Underdog. Really appreciate everyone checking us out, and we'll be back very soon.